Are you get further away from me?
I'm just trying to get comfortable. Here we go. You're comfortable sitting like that?
Right.
So it's interesting because I've had three kids, and two of them are in. Is that? Do you think that means something?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of insanity with that name. I think this would probably admit that.
Yeah. Maybe we need to get him and you on one.
Be good. One get canceled.
So what I've learned over the last couple of weeks here doing this is that a couple times I wasn't prepared enough. I mean, I did prepare questions, but I didn't get to them with Pat Militich. We just started off with just a regular, hey, what's going on? How you doing? That kind of thing.
Trying to get him to shut up is tough.
Yeah, he likes to talk a little bit. I mean, you like to talk too.
Sometimes.
I like to talk. So it was just Memorial Day. And the question is, what does Memorial Day mean to you? You're a big veteran supporter, and it just I think maybe some people get confused between Veterans Day and Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, maybe day is it's for the ones that made the ultimate sacrifice, and it's funny because I asked my kids. I said, "You guys know what the dead is?" And my just he knew. So no, the daughter was like, "It's for army stuff, isn't it?"
yeah,
Like, no, no,
yeah,
it's the ones that passed away in battle, so we can go fishing, so we can have fun, so we can do the things that we take for granted and love. And yeah, it's honoring those that made that ultimate sacrifice, and it's something for me. I mean, gosh, I always wanted to go to the military. That was always my goal, and then so I get recruited and
yeah.
ruin that. And honestly, still even halfway through my college career, I was still thinking about going. But now I can't even walk to the mailbox after my pants.
That doesn't mean that we just yeah. Well, do you have a military family? Anyone in the military?
Yeah, so my dad served in the army, and my brother served in the Marines. My brother was over there in Somalia during his days.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Wasn't so respect.
No, I didn't know that. I think that's the other point I wanted to try to make about doing this is, you say like you could work with someone for 25 years and you say, oh, I know that guy, we're friends with that person, but really, what do you know about him? You didn't know that, so that's good. I didn't know that. Yeah, I have a military family too. My Marines in the late 80s, early 90s, grandfathers, Navy and Air Force. My dad, Marines, Vietnam, uncles in Korea, in the Navy. Yeah, huge, huge military.
You would have been a good Marine.
Yeah, I kick myself about that every day.
Yeah, same here, man.
I think I talked about it a little in my book, and I said how we were raised Marines since the day we were born. 'Cause my dad was a Marine,
Yeah.
and I think by the time I became 18, I'm sick of this. I'm done my time. I know how to kill people. I know how to stab people. I know how to choke them. Make my bed. Discipline. But I think it definitely helped.
Yeah.
And when I kicked myself because I was like, all right, my older brother did it, and then him and my dad had a connection.
Yeah.
They were both in the Marines. And then when it became time for me to kind of make that decision, it was not too late, but I went to a recruiter when I was like 27. And I think that's like the max age. And the guy was like, well, what's your medical history? And I said, well, he's like, did you ever break any bones? And I was like, yeah. He's like, we're good. Yeah. So they didn't need anybody at that time.
You just lie.
You could, I guess. I think they do physical.
Yeah.
So the first question I wanted to ask you about was Memorial Day, and I hate how it's just a day off people. And do they really take the time and just kind of remember, pay respect to the people that have given their life for the country?
I think that's like most things, unfortunately, in the world. People get created all this stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah.
Sitting in this fancy basement with all these lights while I'm working with.
Yeah.
the legendary John Bryant.
Well, I don't know about legendary, but his whole like second. Look, the other thing I had to ask you is here from Boston, actually Peabody is. When I was growing up, there was a thing called Pride in Peabody, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was like for you growing up here in Bettendorf, but when I did move here in 2011, I kind of felt the same way. Like the city had like a lot. It was like Bettendorf Pride.
Yeah.
Give me your take on that and your experience with growing up here, like what that was like.
Yeah, I had three older brothers and an older sister. My two brothers and my sister played at Bettendorf, and growing up, like that's playing at Bettendorf was the greatest. Like that was the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
they'd run out to the field and you'd run over there and slap their hands, and like that was just so cool. Like you go to all the basketball games, you go all that stuff, and you'd go and you'd play on the hill. Like I played so many state championship games on that hill prior to actually playing a real state championship game, dreaming of being there. And unfortunately nowadays they don't allow the kids to play over on they really do anything for me. But that's another story. I mean, for me, it's been enough for me. I look back at the guys that I grew up watching. It starts with like Tatum Banks, the great Peterson with him, like
Yes.
met him before. Yeah, good. He's a good man, isn't he? So, just so many legends, and every class had a story and just so much success over the years. And I guess not just football, but all the sports. And um, like it meant something. It meant something to be up. It meant something to play. Like it was an honor. It was so look at the coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Started with football. You've got Mark Beck. He was a legend, and then Ray Scott took over, and now you've got Aaron Wiley, and got to mention Fracking as well. Like those guys. I mean, shoot, I remember. He's not like we would work out Monday through Saturday. If somebody didn't show up to work, we would run some phone. Like that's what we would do.
Off season workouts or during?
Off season.
Okay.
So it was not, nowadays it's like, well, if you can make it, you can make it. If not, whatever. Like, no, it was, you better show up and just working hard, outworking everybody. We'd always work out on the 4th of July just because we knew nobody else was going to do that. We'd always work out on New Year's Day. Mainly, I think, probably to keep us out of trouble the day before. Just because we knew nobody else was going to do that. We built that edge. Like we built such an edge that we weren't bigger, stronger, faster, much than anybody. So we were willing to go the extra mile. Yeah, and I guess long story short, that's kind of what Bettendorf means. What I think when I think about Bettendorf Pride, and kind of off topic, but like talking about willing. Like my kids, my oldest is 13, and his class, like ton of talent, and nobody's like willing to fight.
Yeah.
Like they get down and they're just like, oh, it's like, dude, I just watch you guys walk off the bus. You look like an NBA team, you look like a college team, and you're playing this team from Mount Vernon, for example, who's their kids are like this tall, but they're willing, like they're and that's and I look at my career too. I'm like. I wasn't talented or I figured all that stuff, but there's so many people in the Quad Cities, let alone, in college that were athletic than me, but it came time to get punched in the mouth. I punched them in the mouth, and people would do it.
Would get punched.
Yeah. It hurts too.
Yeah.
It hurts.
So did Bettendorf like a feeder group like program youth football? So like just give you my experience was like Peabody, we had like youth football.
Yeah.
And then we had wards, like Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4, Ward 5. We were the Ward 5 cheerleaders. And so you played with the kids that grew up in your ward. That's how big the city was.
Your gang.
Your gang, exactly. And then, so you go through, but it wasn't the same system. When my younger brother went through it, it was public. So they got rid of the 5 type stuff and they got to and every team the same influence. The same defense. And so when these kids got to high school, they were in the Peabody football program. So I don't know what it was like for you when you threw.
That makes way too much sense for us to do.
Yeah. But they haven't. Did you have youth football?
No. Well, so there was Rising Knights, which was basically kind of which Assumption kind of started that, which was the only really option that you could have around here. Parents wouldn't let me do that growing up. So I just played flag football, and then we got to middle school, and that was really the only option, the first option for me to play tackle football.
Was that sixth or seventh?
Seventh, I think seventh. Um, Nowadays, we do have a youth football program, and I help out with that. And we've been coaching it for the last, gosh, I don't know, 4-ish, 5-ish years, just coaching the boys, and it's been fun. It's been a good time. Football's what I love about football is it's for everybody. It's for
I
everybody.
think the numbers are down because of all the people in our parents that are scared the kids are going to get hurt or like concussions and all that. I think if I don't know,
I mean, look how normal
we
me
need
and
to
you
talk
are.
about.
Where they be?
Well, when I played, we had the helmets that had like literally like not air helmets; they were cushions, just plastic with like a cushion. So
Um, yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think it's probably the fact that there's specialization now too. With kids really good at basketball, and he doesn't want to get hurt. Whatever. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I do. In high school, like what's weird is I think it's a majority of the schools is there's only one freshman team, one sophomore team, and then there's a JV team. So you've got one freshman team, the JV team, and varsity. It's like if you're not playing on the JV or if you're not playing on the freshman team, maybe you haven't gone to pro yet or whatever. You're still growing. Well, then you're probably like, well, I'm not going to play for 3 years, possibly. So like I think that hurts it too. I think with football, it's like more teams the better, more kids the better. Like for the youth this year for fifth and sixth grade, we had 3 teams total, which was probably I think we had about over 30 kids per team. So you're looking at 90 kids.
so is that only Bettendorf or is it PV kids and this City kids or just Bettendorf kids
So we
in the Bettendorf school system?
we refuse to turn down a kid.
Okay.
So if a kid wants to play from wherever,
Yeah.
we'll let them play. And coincidentally, we do have a lot of PV kids. But what PV does really great with their youth is just like you said, their youth programs are running their varsity offense and their varsity defense, which I think is pretty smooth. Or Scott does that same thing. We don't have that yet.
Yeah. Um, the the other thing you mentioned was coaching, right? Because to me, and I touched a little bit about it in the book after I reread my own book, I thought, man, what is kind of like the theme here? The theme was there was either a good coach or a good manager or my dad, like throughout my whole process, that if they're not,
Yeah.
and you hear about all the time about
Yeah.
how there's these shitty ass coaches, there's like coaches that just do it because their kids playing and all that kind of stuff. But I look at my own experience and it was like there was always somebody that guided me and gave me advice or something. Did you have
I had amazing coaches. I think my youngest coach is a guy named Dave Croft. So I grew up playing soccer. Soccer was my sport. I did soccer and baseball and basketball and all that stuff. I did all of it. But soccer was really the only sport around here that you could really travel at a young age. Now we did some traveling in baseball once we went to middle school. Soccer was the one that we could really start doing it. Maybe it was like third or fourth grade. We started traveling around. Dave Crockett was first soccer coach. Then Steve Andrusik, he was the one that did our travel stuff. It was accountability. It was toughness. We worked hard and we won state a million times. And then we ended up winning state in high school, which is funny because it was our football team essentially that was our soccer team. And we also would run track. So we'd tell the soccer coach going to track practice and the track coach going to soccer practice. And we'd just go mess around. They didn't talk to each other, but and then and Tom Schutz was the basketball coach, another just tough guy. I mean, really, I had a lot of really good youth coaches growing up.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I benefited from is they're not like nowadays where there's 75,000 travel teams, there's 75 million clubs that you can play.
Yeah.
There were only a couple back then, so you would get quality individuals. Nowadays it's great because everybody has such an opportunity to play sports. However, the opportunity to play sports causes an opportunity for a lot of bad coaches to coach. And they're not necessarily in that for the right reason. My kids have been lucky. We've had good coaches, but a lot of bad ones that you see out there that
Yeah.
are in it for the right reasons.
I had one quick story when we played youth football. There was this family, Ponevelchiks.
They sound tough.
Oh yeah, let me tell you, dad was he was the coach,
Yeah.
and he had an older boy, Alex, and then Chris was the younger brother. So Chris was my age, but Alex was like, I think he was 2 years older than me. And we had like a scrimmage against them, like a elementary school field. It wasn't a regular football field, and we were scrimmaging. And all I remember is like I didn't like play defense, but I was playing defense and maybe linebacker. And I just remember he stepped on my face. Now, Alex, he went on and he played football at home.
Yeah.
And then Chris ended up, this is a crazy story. And Chris, if you ever hear this, you probably won't, but he was, he stuttered and he was the quarterback.
Yeah.
So the center called all the like ready, set,
wow.
hike and all that because Chris stuttered. And I don't think he stutters anymore, but whatever. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but then he became a running back and Chris went to Columbia and played running back there. So these guys were like
Smart.
yeah, smart, but I just remember like the coach is, I can't remember the dad's name, but he would yell the plays from the sideline to them and there's nothing you could do.
Yeah.
They just run right over you.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
It is nice with the youth because you can pretty much say whatever, and none of the kids have played long enough to where they really know what's going on. So that helps.
Yeah, but you can get in trouble, right? I mean, I don't know what it's like to have. I mean, my kids played soccer, swam, and Trinity played tennis, but they just never ever even attempted to talk to any of the coaches. And I knew because I was like, they're probably getting hammered by other people. Like my kid's not playing, those kinds of things. I don't know if you get that. Like,
Oh, as far as like, yeah, as
parents being obnoxious.
Oh.
Yeah.
My oldest is 13. Like we've been doing this for a long time. It's funny because like I just at like a point in my life where I care 0% about youth sports. And I care about that too. I care about how hard. That's what I care about. It's funny because like I really pushed my 13, and I really, and not so much I would say the last couple of years, but when he was younger, I really pushed sports on him. And same thing with my 11-year-old son, but my daughter who's 7, who I never really pushed sports on. She's going to be the best one.
Osmosis.
It's so weird. Like she'll skip and like dance and do cartwheels and score 3 goals. And like it's the weirdest freaking thing. And like with softball, never played, decided to play this year, like hits the ball every time, like does fine and doesn't care at all. And I think like that's the key to life. I've realized it's just you care about certain things, but also you have to not really care at all about most of them.
Yeah, it's fun. It should be fun, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that too. I was going to ask you that question about if you look at pro athletes and you look at their relationship they have with, like, I'll give you 2 examples: Tiger Woods and then Todd Marinovich.
Yeah.
And you look at those guys in their days were like psycho.
Yeah.
And it worked. But then you hear all these other horror stories. The chances of that, what's the balance between pushing them and then giving them space? I think that's what I found the hardest with my kids.
100%.
Like they would never come to me. I mean, not professional or anything, but as far as when it would come to getting in shape and running and lifting and working, reading, it would be a one thing for me. It's, I don't know. So is that like, what's that correct? You mentioned pushing your 13-year-old and now pushing your 11-year-old and your daughter just being like, well, I'm just going to do whatever the heck I want.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So like, what do you, I mean, that one to me was a struggle on balance and like, you don't want to be the one dad like that is screaming and yelling at his kid.
Yeah.
Like the bad news bears or something.
I think you also have to know your kid too. And, there's certain kids that are driven that can take it and there's certain kids that can't. And it's funny. It's like the same thing. Like my kids have, like if they ask me to play catch or ask me to do this 100% of the time, so freaking little. Like I have to ask them, like, hey, let's go get a little lift in. Let's go do something.
Yeah.
And my daughter is like, Dad, can I work out like every day? And she'll just sit there and like do 1,000 sit-ups and push-ups and stuff. But it's I don't know it's a line, and it's hard to go either direction. But you want your kids to be prepared. You want them to be the best that they can be, and you know exactly what it takes to get them there. Then you also don't want to be an a-hole. You push it. If you do it, no matter what you do, you feel like we're going to do it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Just hopefully they understand that at the end of the day, it's about love, you know?
Yeah. So when you were, you go and you're in middle school football or whatever, and then you get to high school, like, give me your high school career in terms of like, when did you start playing? Like, was you guys 9 through 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, gosh, I think freshman year I played. We had two teams, so it was nice. I played fullback and like right guard, and I don't even know what I played on defense. And then sophomore year played, and that's kind of really when I started to have a little bit of success. Sophomore year, I played fullback and linebacker, and then toward the end of the year, then I got moved up to varsity and was able to finish on varsity the season. That was really I just got moved up for the playoffs, which they kind of do to
Expand the list or whatever.
then was able to go down on kickoff my sophomore year, make a bunch of tackles and all that, but really no significant time. And then junior year, started to have success, and um, we got done with a game against Assumption, and one of the coaches came over and was like, and had this like sheet of stats, and he pointed to 21, and he's like, you know what that is? I'm like, I don't know. He goes,
Yeah.
that's how many tackles you. I'm like, is that good? Like I said, he's like, yeah, you probably should start figuring out what you want to do for college. You start getting recruited, and I'm like, college? I never even thought about going to college. And then like so obviously I plan on going to the military, so I never thought about going to college, which means I never tried school.
Right. Yeah.
What's supposed to like I failed ceramics. Just impossible to do. So yeah, I went and got my student rank and all that stuff checked, and I was like, there were like 10 people in our whole grade that had worse GPAs than me. So I had to like restructure. Yeah,
More or less.
it was pretty close. Restructure everything for my next couple of years and make sure that my GPA get to a point to where then I could then qualify for the NCAA clearinghouse and good stuff. So hey, you're supposed to be in it, and it's kind of an ego thing too, because like I'm this big bad, the next year I'm this big bad senior football player, but I'm taking ninth grade math just because I decided to not show up. 4 years to keep ending. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of funny how life works. Like 16 or 16, like freshman year, and then 2 years later, so you're getting some shit to the point you want. What the hell's going on? Weird deal.
So when at work, like every job I've had, you always hear this thing like, "Oh, best practices." Right. And to me, I'm like, well, the best practice only worked one time for that one person. Okay, so my question to you is not best practice, but like, what do you think happened? What did you do? Maybe it could be 10 things, 3 things, one thing. From that sophomore to junior year, and then that junior year to senior year. What did you do? I know we talked earlier about and doing, but like, give me, what did you do to get that?
Um, I I think I wanted it. Six people. I played with a really good group of guys. Just guys that were insane. Your D line was great and they were tough. And I had another linebacker next to me named Luke Andrusik, whose dad was also my soccer coach growing up. He was a bad dude. He could hit harder than me. He was faster than me. Like he was stronger than me. He would if he just wasn't 5'8", he would be a complete machine. And I don't know. I really don't know what I did other than focused more. I think going from my junior year to my senior year, they actually my junior year we had a guy named Mel Drinkle who played at Iowa and was just getting out of his career. He really spent a lot of time with me trying to like, this is how you run. This is get flexible, all this stuff. You got to be the first one that way, or the last one to leave. And it's funny because I remember one time there were some guys on the team that were complaining because they said that I was getting extra attention because I would have to be the first one in there and the last one to leave, and basically cramping up and crying every freaking day just because I was just so completely exhausted. And so he's like, all right, well then just do what Pat does the next day. And they couldn't get through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They wanted it, and like I was so inflexible, the coach would literally hold me down and stretch me until like basically I cried and screamed. It helped because it helped. It took the injuries away and all that stuff. And yeah, no, it was just playing around, playing with good people, having great coaches. luckily, it's like growing up, so I always had that speed. I think a lot of people confuse, like, hey, I need to get big and strong, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how strong you are if you can't run the ball.
Right.
I think speed is.
Yeah.
I think speed's huge.
I agree. I agree. And if I had boys, I mean, I would have put them in super right away. Because that's one thing.
The only sport I pushed on my kids, and I didn't do it. So my daughter, she's my.
Because I like football, right? If you don't get that fundamental of running around the whole time, right? That's all you do in soccer is run around. What about, so when I was in school, we still had like 8mm film.
Yeah.
Okay. And we watch film. And then we was in transition to VHS tapes.
That's big.
So that's, yeah, it was a big deal. What about technology for when you were like, because you can, like you just said, kind of like physically, all these kids can run and jump and they can bench 400 pounds and all that. But what's the difference maker? Like, if you look at a guy like Brady and you look at his combine and go, that guy's never playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, he's the greatest quarterback ever. But he studied, he watched film. I mean, he knew every play, he knew the defensive play. Like,
Yeah.
So did you start using any of, like, I don't know, technology or techniques other than the physical stuff? What do you think?
No, honestly, not in high school.
Yeah.
In high school, it was, I'm just going to go tackle to get the ball.
Yeah.
To stop.
Yeah.
And I literally I remember I was talking to our defensive coordinator, who's the head coach now, and I remember him trying to explain to me something like, dude, can I just go tackle the guy with the ball? He's like, yeah. So then I just literally, I had nobody in coverage to cover, and I just went and tackled the guy with the ball. It was very water boy type.
Who was it? Somebody just came out. It was a quarterback, and they were asking him about something, and he would have to ask other people like what cover 2 was. Who was it? It was somebody. I won't remember it, but
Quarterback?
I was dying. I was like, what? He didn't like, but like you said, he just went and played.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so now your junior year happens, and now like you're gonna go into your senior year, and now you've changed your mind from military to maybe there's a chance to go and play football somewhere.
Yeah, so I started getting offers after my junior season, and then committed to Iowa or so before my senior season.
And who did like when we were in high school? I think there was probably only like 3 kids that got recruited by anybody.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I guess your coach is the one that's supposed to be like promoting you.
Yeah.
But now you guys have like there's things like huddle and all this other crap that the coaches get inundated with millions of.
Right.
So how did that happen?
Really, Drinkle helped out a lot with that. I ended up in my junior year, I set the school record for tackles in a game and all that stuff. So it was like, your name's out there from doing all that.
Yeah.
And then Drinkle, who's actually now the head coach at Central Michigan, which is kind of cool.
And that's where Ben Witzinger's kids are going to be.
Yeah, Matt's a good dude. Really, I didn't get recruited with Matt. Like, he made my highlight tapes. Like, he did all this stuff.
There you go. There's the person.
Told me exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Told me what camps to go to. Like, there was always you'd go to like a week-long camp. They would have like a 4 or 5 day camp, and Matt was like, hey, you should go to this camp, but you should go to the last day when everybody's tired and just kick the crap out of everybody. That's what I did. I just go there, show up all.
It worked.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. And I always wear big jackets because I was like 180 pounds.
Yeah.
You get probably even less than it at that time. So I wanted to look good and big. It's an awesome. That's an attitude. Like, we don't care. Like, we'll wait on. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So you graduate, and now you're going to these guys that have been there for years already, maybe 5, sure, something, and you go into that camp. Maybe as far as like, where do you think you were in the totem pole freshman year?
Just as far as like languages, yeah.
But you got a full scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just talking about just played in high school. Like, I just played.
Yeah.
Well, in college, we actually had a defense. We actually had to do our job, and that like took me a lot. Like, just learning football, like really took me a lot. So you can't just tackle a guy with the ball every time.
Right.
Sometimes. So that took me a little bit of transition. Also, there was like a maturity thing as well too.
Yeah.
Really needed to mature. And when I got there was a guy named Joel Hodge, who's a legend, and he comes from Iowa. Chad Greenway, another legend. They were in there last year. They were in the NFL. And there were two guys behind them, Mike Klingenberg and Mike Humble, two students, just really good human beings, smooth guys, athletic, just tough guys. And they had 2 years left. So like in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, hey, I'm gonna, by the time I'm a junior, they'll be gone and I'll be able to start.
Yeah.
So I didn't prepare to I was a starter kind of thing. And that was like I was just like, all right, whatever, a couple of years it's going to happen. And the coaches saw that, and not that I always worked hard.
Yeah.
Like one of the stronger guys, one of the faster guys, like always really worked hard. But as far as like the other stuff, the stuff I wasn't good at, like learning football, I kind of put that to the wayside. And we were up in Wisconsin my sophomore year. So I redshirted, and then I had freshman year, which I played a little bit on special teams. Sophomore year, kind of similar. Um, we were playing up in Wisconsin. It was a night game, and everybody except for me, the true freshman. And instead of putting me in, they put the true freshman.
Ooh.
And for me, it was like, this was like a huge, biggest turning point I would say in my career is like it's kind of like, hey, dude,
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And there was some time, like there was a minute, maybe a couple of days where it was me pointing fingers and
Yeah.
hey, this is
Yeah.
screwed over, and the problem too with that is you get your family. Like your family will tell you, they will give you benefit of the doubt. They will, because they know what you're capable of. They
Yeah.
know who you are. They will always defend you. And I didn't earn that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was I was a Bulgarian and a good time and staying
Okay.
late and that crap and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And finally I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, hey, you're the reason why you're in this position, and you can change. And it was conversations with Coach Ferens and Coach Doyle as well. And those are two guys that were always going to shoot you straight. And it wasn't an overnight to where I changed, but it was everything I did from that day forward was to try to be the best linebacker could possibly be. And I didn't start my first game in junior. I didn't start my second game. I started my game, and they were looking for me.
Yeah.
It was wild because like I was very close to quitting.
I was going to ask
It's
you.
crazy, dude.
Well, I was going to ask you that because you get kind of that must have been such a kick in the teeth to get, hey, this new freshman kid that hasn't even really done anything is going to play over you that you've been there 3 years or going in 3 years. But I mean, how many people do you think is to that do quit? They or not just quit, but like not quit in the little sense like they just quit on themselves. Like you know what I mean? Like they just say, okay, I'm just gonna keep going and get my degree in 2 more years and be just being that third guy.
For me, I would say the majority of them, and a lot of them, nowadays, unfortunately, there's a transfer portal. And
That's the sucky
what would I have
part.
done back then? Maybe to somewhere and just had a terrible next 2 years instead of just putting my nose down and doing the whole thing. Like the cool thing about it, what a lot of people understand is like they have the coaches, like the program, they have the answers to the test. If you literally just do what they say, you're going to be successful. Like it's not for everybody, but it's going to be really, really hard. However, you're going to reap the rewards if you literally just do what they say. Yeah, and it's crazy to me when I know it's hard when kids are young and all that stuff, and your brain's still trying to form. Mine's still trying to form as well too. But it's like if they would just realize this, like just do what they say.
Yeah.
Because like everybody that goes to Iowa right now is better athletically than me. Every single person. Like, if I can make it, like all these kids should not have an issue at all.
But did you go in thinking you were going to play? Like, did you go like you just had one state championship and you going in and you go full roll and you're like, this is what I'm going to do? And did you have the fun to go and play too? Really? Okay.
Then they're knowing that I was going to redshirt. I mean, I was 190 pounds, but so I knew I was going to redshirt, kind of get some weight up. I expected to play significant time on special teams as a redshirt freshman, which I did. And never really could. There were injuries, and I just mentally wasn't there, and because I was way behind from the mental standpoint and maturity. And luckily, it clicked what it did. Because I would have hated to. I just couldn't imagine like the what ifs, the what ifs, and I couldn't imagine having the success that I had at that time in my career either. It's just it's interesting.
So the intangibles was the piece. Like you would work physically, right? Like training and lifting and stuff, but was the learning the game.
Just learn the game, and also too, like I'd be the first one down at the bar. It would be,
Yeah.
I would be the guy like, hey, that's coming in. Pat'll take our recruits. Like, we'll have some,
Yeah. Yeah.
do that. And
Yeah.
also, he wasn't going to turn out a fight either.
Right.
Like just like not good stuff. And there was a lot of maturity and a lot of stuff. And I guess kind of like the other version of an Iowa football player, you had Brett Greenwood, was a walk on. Came in, walked on, redshirted, and sort of did everything right. Was like solid, even though he's a PV guy. He did everything right. The before your start,
Yeah.
which doesn't happen ever.
Yeah.
As I've gone in the division, see on the Anderson is still safety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very different careers. But then, fortunate to be able to, play with him and become friends with him. And then, it's funny. We really ran one defense. I talk about I had a hard time trying to figure out the defense. We really ran one defense.
What did you guys have? A 4-2, a 5-2, 4-3,
4-3.
4-3.
Yeah, running 43 and
Yeah.
and ran. We were playing quarter half to one side. Quarter half unless they come out in the slot, then you're either playing cover 3 or playing cover 1, and that's basically what we did. But yeah, we would still line up, and we'd have to look back and tell us all what to do.
Yeah. This is what you're doing. I had things like that too. Lineman was most of the time. But I played corner and they're like,
yeah.
what are we doing? And I'm like, listen, just cover this flat here. I got deep coverage.
You were the Cooperage game before the Cooperage game.
Athletic. Wasn't anything he is. It was the opposite. I always talk about that like with other like friends of mine that I had a few friends that did play Division I AA.
Yeah.
One kid actually went and played at San Jose State.
That's a good school.
Yeah, and he was a linebacker, and he was his name Dave Mills. He was unbelievable. But that guy Dave Mills, he was a judo champion at like 16 years old. He was just one of those kids that he was the toughest kid in the school, and you just didn't mess with him, and became good friends with him. He played there. The major difference we were talking about what's the difference between back then it was like one AA and Division III. I played Division III football.
Yeah.
And it was like speed was probably the biggest factor, and then size, right? So for linemen, it was size, right?
Yeah.
We had a kid that was 6'5", 285. He played lineman. You were grade school. Would have got drafted, but hurt his ankle on the screen. And then that kid Dave, and he was he was probably 6'2", 6'3", like 245, super fast, but like a judo expert linebacker, and they had speed and size. Other than that, it was still football.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't even imagine. So now you're going into, you get playing time, you're going into your senior year. So similar question about like when you were in high school, you didn't think you were going to go to college and play.
Yeah.
Now you're in the college and you're playing now. Did you have any idea anything you were going to the NFL? And if you did, when did that?
Yeah, honestly, I figured I'd have a shot, maybe a possible free agent shot. I figured but I didn't really think too much.
Was that in the season, senior year, or before that year?
Would have been before they start reaching, agents start reaching out, and there were a bunch that, and it's a lot worse because the kids can have agents in college, but agents start reaching out, and say, hey, the season's over. Just forwarded it all to my brother because I didn't want to deal with any of that. He fielded all of them, so I didn't talk to any agents or any of that crap, and I didn't wanted to focus.
Yeah, focus.
Yeah. I figured I'd have a shot. And it's funny, you talk about learning the game and all that stuff. I spent the whole season, not the whole season, but a lot of the off season going into my senior year studying Sean Lake. I thought he was one of the best linebackers probably to ever play in college. And a lot of people won't give him that credit because he was injured and had a career with the Cowboys, but didn't, he had some injuries, but he was so good.
Yeah.
God, he was so, and they had Navarro Bowman as well too, which watched a lot of tape on them too. Those guys were just unbelievable. Sean Lee, I would say one of the smartest linebackers out.
When he hurt his neck.
I think eventually did. I know he had ACL and all that stuff. Dude, he was so good. Gosh, he was so good.
Yeah.
He was so much better than me at football. God, he was great. yeah, then went the season, and then we had a really good season.
Yeah.
And the success, and ended up and we won the Orange Bowl, and that was cool. Like
Yeah.
we were all nuts. We were all just absolutely individuals that loved each other and wanted to just go out there and screw. And it was great. It was good.
Yeah, you mentioned mentally ill, right? But it's funny because, like, when I was growing up playing youth football and high school football, those kids I was mentioning, they just had something about them that was different.
Yeah.
And it is something mental. And I don't mean it in
No.
a bad way, but I mean, you're just like, what the hell is
You've got to be
wrong with that guy?
Yeah, you've got to be
You know, like, and I remember in college being like, these kids would hit so hard, and I'm like, how are they not hurt?
right.
And I'm like, how did you just get your head
Yeah.
destroyed and you can go back there and do it again? I mean, not that I didn't do it, like, man, but there was just something different about
Yeah.
those guys. So it was like, okay, those guys are gonna go play, which I never thought I would in a million years. Same kind of question. It was like, okay, now the game, how much different was the game? Now you get drafted and now you're in the NFL. So along the way, now you're getting maybe additional resource help, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was as far as I go, it was definitely a business. It was definitely a business. I would say everyone so like in high school, you maybe have a couple. There's a couple kids on that team that, but in college, there's like three or four guys in the other team. They're not really good. Like in the NFL,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like everyone
Everyone. The position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really becomes like then it's even more so like it really becomes mental. Like you have to know when they snap the ball on third down. Like you have to know like their blitz pickup. You have to know when they motion this guy. Where is he gonna go? Like what foot's up? If the receiver if this foot's up or
Yeah.
he's leaning like there's just so much. And we'd go into games with close to 30 different defenses that we'd run. And yeah, and it was really definitely it was a lot of mental, a lot of studying, a lot of just really understand the game, and you really do start to learn it, which is great. And you realize that you don't know anything about football. And once because I guess in college I got there and I realized I don't know anything about football, and I got the NFL. And I'm like I really don't know.
Yeah, right now I have no idea.
I thought I did.
But the game is the same, but maybe a little bit different. Meaning, like, it's the same game, but now it's a business, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a business.
Yeah.
Now it's people seats and entertainment, kind of maybe. So walk me through. You go as a rookie, so they drafted you. So actually, like, now you can get kids blood type. You know what I mean? Like the combine,
Oh, yeah.
all that shit, right? Like the combine happens, right? So for the combine for you, I tried to look it up. I don't think it was the same. Did you do 220? You didn't do? Did you do the bench?
Oh yeah,
You did?
yeah.
Huh.
Combine was we fly out there, and
Where was it at?
it was in Indy, and I don't know why we flew, but whatever. Yeah, they lost my luggage, so I don't have any of my stuff, like nothing. And you get there, and it's like meetings, and
So you don't have cleats. You don't have anything.
they had to get a bag that they gave me, so I didn't wear that stuff. But it's a lot of meetings, a lot of sitting around. It's a lot of like you'll go into you go into like this like small little auditorium, and there's like a bunch of like doctors and trainers and stuff. They'll put you on a training table, and they'll like, this is Pat Anger. He's had this injury and this injury and this injury, blah blah blah. And then they'll come up and they'll like pull your arm, and they'll be like, hey, I want a CT scan on this, and then some other guy will come up. So then you spend like the rest of the night getting MRIs and CT scans and trains.
Jeez.
It's like 3 days of them with that type of stuff, and then you go run. So like guys that do good at the combine, I'm so impressed with them because it is like the worst environment to compete in, the absolute worst. You can't eat the food's not ideal. You could go look like I would prepare meals and all that stuff. And
So how long of a time is it?
I feel like I'm trying to remember, I feel like it was I feel like it's 3 days, or 4 days.
Uh,
I can't. Yeah, I can't remember. By the time you get to running, you're like, I'm good. It's like,
Yeah.
this is what the end of it was.
Then you ran the 40.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Was that like? Did you guys practice it?
Yeah.
You did. So
Yeah.
for instance, your stance, getting out of the box,
Yeah.
which like for
Yeah. Yeah.
when you were like
35,
all that.
10, and it was, and we had a really good strength coach at Iowa. He's the guy.
Who was it?
Coach Doyle.
Oh yeah. Where did he grow up? Did he go to school out there?
Yeah, I went to UMass, I think.
Did he?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I was driving the other day, and this is what I've noticed. Maybe it's the same in small than back there to know, but I feel like every other car is a vanity plate in Iowa. It's something to do with Iowa football,
Yeah.
not Iowa State. But this dude had an SUV, and his license plate was UMass.
Oh.
And he had like a Celtic sticker and a Red Sox sticker in his window, and I was like, "I need to catch that guy and see who the hell this guy is. What's he think he's doing here?" Like,
there was a guy in Indy. There's a family they would always pick like somebody they liked on the Colts, and they would have their license plate that. So their license plate was like PA51LB. And then everybody thought it was me.
Yeah.
Apparently they were bad drivers. So like I would get messages on Facebook like, you cut me off in traffic.
Oh, they thought it was you.
No idea, like it wasn't me.
What is that? Chrysler 300?
I don't know. It was something probably more expensive than I could afford. But hey, I appreciate the shout. Yeah, the combine wasn't ideal. Combine wasn't great.
But you still, all right, so you go to the combine.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that? You have an agent?
Yeah,
So you have an agent, you go to the combine, and then I can't remember the combine time to the draft. It's like 2 months?
Yeah, so then so after the combine, then you have your pro day. So you go back to your college, and you have
And you have these guys that come and think, hey, let's go take another look. You already did the medical, you did your tests, you get your scores. Now, personal evaluation.
Yeah.
So they could run through that. You go and do linebacker drills. What do you do?
So I guess, are you talking like
pro day?
Pro day is basically the combine. We'll have you do some linebacker stuff, but it's basically the combine, but you're just doing it at home, and you do a lot just because. But the problem for me is I did 40, did the vertical, and then did the pro agility, like pulled it. Like it was bruised from all the way from. So I'm like, I should just ruin this opportunity. Like I'm not going to get drafted or anything. It was, and that basically I wasn't really able to train much from the pro day to really the rookie mini camp, just because my groin was jacked up, and then you don't have insurance and you're not covered by the university, so that was kind of a tough. Yeah, that was a tough deal.
Right, and you're not working.
Correct. Yeah, it's just that was a tough deal.
So let me ask you this: we'll try to turn it into a business conversation. You're working. So you got your high school career, then your college career, and let's just call it those are like your resume.
Yeah.
Right? You got your resume. Now you get your combine results, it's on your resume. Now you got this great resume. And it's like it's got a resume.
Yeah.
And then you do what is it then? It's just like getting a job, right? You got a resume and everybody that applies for the job has one, and then you got a degree from Iowa or a degree from Oregon. That can get you the opportunity to get a job. Now you go, and then it becomes, now you got to do something. Now you got to do the job, right?
Yeah.
So now you get your resume, you end up doing the combine, doing the pro day, and then finally, like, walk me through the draft day, and then to like call it your first rookie year, like freshman season on the team. It's like a
the draft. So my agent did a good job of. He was like, hey, he might get drafted, he might not. Like, I don't want anybody to get their hopes up. Just, you can go second round, third round, fifth round, you go free agent. Like, no one knows what happens. So don't think that just because you're going with me as an agent, you're going to get picked up. Like, that's not how it works. I have no say in it. I love that, because there were guys that would be like, my agent said, if I go with him, I'm going to go in the first round. It's like, that's
right.
So I get a call on the second day, and the Colts were like, hey, this is Bill Polian, the Indianapolis Colts, and we're going to draft him. Like me?
Yeah.
Do you even know me? Cool. Yeah. So that was awesome, man. That was because my expectations were extremely low. I knew I was going to have an opportunity. I just didn't know that it was going to be that high. And like the first line. So I was like, well, that means they're probably not going to cut me this year. So like that was
You're
great.
gonna make the team.
That was really cool. And then I got to Indy, and they had just signed Gary Pickett, who was a longtime linebacker, just a really good football player, good human. Signed him for an extension. And so I was kind of playing the same position. I was kind of nervous
Yeah.
about how that was going to be. And for him coming up to me and him saying, like, hey, like, I know why you're here, because eventually, you're going to take my job. That's how it works. I understand. So my job is to make sure that when I'm done, the Colts are in a better position, and I'm going to make sure that you're as good as you can.
That's pretty cool.
Dude, unbelievable.
That's cool. I mean, I don't know how many other people get.
I could do that in business world.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Right. Yeah. Right.
So he spent a lot of time with me and another rookie linebacker, Connor from Clemson, who was one of my good buddies, just taking us in early and watching film and just teaching us everything. It really made the transition super easy. And for the first couple weeks in the season, Gary got hurt, and I had to go in and I would play for him and had a good game. It was because of him. It was because
Yeah.
and then after that game, then we played strong side linebacker, which I'd never played before, but because Gary taught me the defense and I knew what the hell everybody was doing, like it was a pretty easy and seamless transition. It really is. As a strong side linebacker, you don't really have 11 of 230 pounds. I mean, it's not. So I played that the whole season and ended up on the all rookie team, and yeah, it was a successful rookie year.
It's crazy because like getting the theme of having a mentor or a leader, coach, or somebody to help you versus because there's a million of those stories that it's the opposite.
Yep.
That they want you to fail. Like your manager, mentor, coach, they're like they don't like you, so they're gonna hope you don't do well. This is the person that's there to help you and pump you up and make you a better player or a better person and a better. I mean, I found that throughout my career is that there are people out there that succeed, but most of them self. There are people that get in that mindset of just afraid to succeed.
Yeah.
Like she's not afraid. She's
No.
just doing it. She don't care if she fails.
No.
She's just having fun.
And it's funny because that's something that me and my wife were talking about is, watching the older kids use baseball. It's like the ball will get hit, and instead of them like putting the effort to dive into it, they don't want to do that effort to possibly fail. Like the possibility of fail, but also like the possibility of making a badass catch. Like that's But it's everybody's all about and it's it's. I remember Aaron Rodgers saying something in an interview that. I want to say McAfee asked him, like, what changed for you? And he's like, my give a shit meter, what does it?
Yeah.
And like, you have to just not care.
Yeah. When he said something like that, I don't know if you followed poker when it first became Texas Hold'em was like a big thing in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And that guy, Chris Moneymaker, I think that's his first name. Moneymaker was his last name. I swear it was like his real name. But anyway, he won the first kind of one that was on TV and was like the first World Series in poker. And he said the same exact thing. He said, I started playing like I don't care about the money. And I was like, that's it. So now you're in the NFL.
Cool and good looking at
you. Yeah. Getting all the blades. And
he was married at the time.
Yeah. I think I met you right after so you go and you get a rookie contract, or how does it explain that?
Yeah, so as soon as you get drafted, you're really in contract. Then you still have to negotiate that. I didn't sign until camp. I want to say in July, or was it August? Is when I actually signed. So like I'm a second round draft pick.
Yeah,
and my senior year, I'd asked my wife to marry me, so we were trying to prepare for a wedding. I had like $500.
Yeah,
like that is a lot of money. I mean, to me, like I could have lasted for a long time with that. But like we're trying to do this wedding and like all this stuff, and my wife's racking up her credit card debt. My in-laws are like helping us out. Like it was, I had nothing. And I'm supposed to. Everyone's like, give me some money. I'm like, dude, I don't have it. And then signed the contract during camp. And
how many years was that?
It was a 4-year deal.
4-year deal.
Yeah.
4-year deal, and then um, I think when I met you, it was at one of those holiday events at the casino downtown.
How was it for? It was for that camp.
Yeah, not the camp. It was the is it the Chuck Long thing?
Might be.
Yeah,
Children's therapy scene.
something like
Yeah.
that. Raise. It was a charity event. I was just there with a bunch of people. We were. I think it was you. Just did you renegotiate a contract?
Would have been prime. That would probably have been my first one. So, oh,
Okay.
exactly. I wasn't good enough to get another one.
So then you go and you're now into your second year, and you
Yeah.
go and then I mean you get. Think when did you get?
So I got my third year. So
Third.
my second year, Peyton. So we didn't really have a quarterback,
Yeah.
which was tough. But then from an individual stat standpoint, it was great because our
Yeah.
offense was never in the field. So I
So
had
you went to
some tackles.
Yeah. Third most in the league, or tied for
No, I think it
it was
was.
third most,
Yeah, third or fourth,
140 something.
something like that. There was one.
It's a lot of tackles.
Yeah, my
A
body.
lot of getting beat up.
Yeah, a lot of tackles, 15 minutes downfield too.
It,
It still
it still counts. It's only a number 1 or 2 on this stat sheet.
There was one game where I took record for most tackles in a game, which I didn't realize that until my kids looked that up, which I thought was pretty cool. Granted, we lost the game, which so
I think I have that.
but then bad year, bad year from a team standpoint, but good year individually. First 2 years, started most of the games. Second year started the whole season, and then all our coaches get fired because we went 2-14.
I mean,
Which was tough. That was tough. One of the things too, one of the teammates that we had. Well, we had Dan Arvosky on the team. He's on ESPN now.
the quarterback, really good Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good leader. And he was on the Lions when they went 16 or whatever it was. He came in and started the game. The first game we won, it was like week 15 or week 14. So it was like we won the freaking Super Bowl. But we had another guy on the team. Next team as well named Grayson. It was a Florida State guy. Just an awesome human being, and he was so good to have in that locker room because he had been through it, and he had said, "Hey, the media's going to try to tear us apart. They're going to say this, they're going to do that. Like we've got to stick together. We cannot point fingers." And he was totally right.
Yeah.
And it was super good to have a good guy like that in the locker room, and yeah. But then everybody got fired, and we had a whole new defense. We switched from we were a 4-3 strictly cover 2 kind of defense to then we switched to a 3-4 like quarters, like blitzing. Which really I wasn't an over 3-4 really linebacker per se. What was hard for me is because I thought it was a really good defense. There's a lot of good things that you could do. And I won that third year, and I'm like, all right, like I had 2 really good years. I'm gonna have another good year, and I'm gonna make enough money where I can buy just something cool.
Yeah, right.
I break my foot the third play of like the first preseason game, and like it was just come on. Try to play a little bit more with it, and just
So what was the actual injury to foot?
So just the side
Pinky.
what do they call it? Jones fracture.
No idea. I did it to both feet. I was in a boot for like 6 weeks, and then my buddy's like, "Get out of the boot, just walk."
Did they
do all this
surgery?
No surgery. Then I met with O'Shea, and
Shabo.
yeah, he shot me up with cortisone, and he thought that they misdiagnosed it as a stress fracture, and then it was just inflamed, and it felt like it was the most pain just to step on my foot. It was so. And I was like, my running career is over, and I was like, no, it's not. I got a shot, and it's been 2 years, so it's good. But the rehab. So anyway, you break your foot.
Yeah, how you don't break your feet is by not running like 100 miles.
That's a good thing. How did it happen? So did you just like put all the like force on the side, or you remember when it happened?
I just planted.
Yeah,
I just planted. And I don't know if it was from, the shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
Who certainly it was
Can we
probably
sue
right
now?
we should something that was it was done and they start shredding for shredding.
Yeah.
Just didn't. So then they're like, all right, well, so I had surgery the next day, and they're like, you're probably at 8 to 12 weeks. And,
6.
for me, I'm like, yeah, right. I'm going to come back early. And
Right.
everybody else has to do me. It's just stupid and stubborn. And I tried to come back early, didn't heal, rebroke it. And they're like, we can either have another surgery, revision, or you can play the season and then we can have a revision for the season. And so stubborn and just stupid. Decided about the season. Just like it wasn't good. It wasn't ideal. And then the season was over, had another surgery, foot, and then surgery, staph infection surgery from the surgery. And so I had to get that, and had a knee surgery after that. And so it was like 3 surgeries in a month. And it was just and that was just kind of the start of, I think, from that point on, I had like 10 surgeries, and just kind of the start of never really getting healthy again, and having spots where like I felt really good,
Yeah.
played really good, and then just because the next day, yeah. So it was tough, and it was tough for me because there was a lot of people with like anger jerseys, and I was sitting there on the bench like a freaking loser. Yeah, mentally it was tough.
Yeah. Yeah. You mean now you getting paid the whole time?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're getting paid. Another question. So this when these pro golfers would come for the John Deere Classic, like 2012, I think they would come and talk to like the people at the deal. And these 2 guys came in, and I can't remember their names, but they were talking about what it was like to be a pro golfer on tour. Right. And it's like, good. Be a pro. Like the guys, if you're not in the top 20, maybe 10 in the, you're on a bus or unless you're going around and you're out there for like 36 weeks straight, 36 weeks out of 50 too.
just burning.
Every year going in it to make like the top 100 to keep your car and all that. So give me a lowdown on what it's like, because I feel like people think they see the Tiger Woodses and all these other guys that are flying around with private jets, the Justin's, all these guys, and the majority actually live those paycheck to paycheck. Because then they talked about how much money, right? So you win a tournament, you've got an agent, you've got a caddy, you've got all these fees, you get your paying for. What was it like for you? Just traveling and being in the family.
It's a lot more manageable than golfing.
Yeah.
Because we don't pay for any of our travel.
Right.
It's and agent only takes 3%, so it's not too crazy. And the one thing too that people don't understand is that you get paid every game.
Yeah.
So from that,
Yeah.
you don't get paid in the season. And some of these people blow their money in between. That's like, dude, what are you doing, man?
Right. You get to make this next.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as like the financial standpoint, like if you mess it up, especially while you're playing, like come on, figure.
Yeah. Like Antoine Walker.
Yeah. But the travel and being away from the family, like I've been with my wife since I was 15.
Yeah.
And like she's totally aware of it, and it hasn't been not an issue for her. Like she's tough for me, a young kid at the time, and obviously there were tough times, but it wasn't like she understood it, and loved about it. It was after the season. My son was born, and so we had a lockout prior to my second year. And we ended up getting our wives pregnant. So during that second year, we all had kids. Yeah. It was like 1 million kids on the team. So after that season, my second season, even though I was banged up and that stuff, I guess, yeah, I did have surgery after my second season. I could spend all the time with them.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you train all that stuff, but
yeah,
it was there for all the time until, when there was mini camp and fall camp. And it's like the perfect time to where like your wife misses you, you get back from playing all the time, and your wife misses you, and you're together. Right when she's getting ready to kill you, then you leave again.
Yeah.
And it worked out for the 4 years.
It was good time.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably how you lasted.
Now she's just stuck with me.
Yeah. Last topic, because I don't want to keep you too long, is transitioning now. We don't have to talk about what happened in the NFL, but now you're transitioning to the real. You moved back to Bettendorf, I assume?
Yeah.
Jared built your house.
Yep.
Can remember that. And then just looking for like,
Okay, you did your research.
well, I was there with you during this time.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take credit, but I remember Jared asking me, he's like, "Hey man, do you think you could help Pat out?" And I talked to
Yeah, you're the one who got me with Kurt.
but the resume. Do you remember the resume?
Yes.
So I get the copy of the resume, and I was like, "I fucking think I can do anything." I was like, "Wait a second, did he graduate high school? Who wrote this resume?" But I specifically remember like getting it and being like, okay, and I dear like before I left, I was also helping military guys because the military resumes are totally different than like, the business resumes. So I had a lot of experience with doing resume writing. So I was helping these guys out, and so I get yours, and I'm like, first thing we need to do is figure out like a better structure because all your stuff was NFL, and that was it, right?
That's all I get.
Right. I mean, that was it. But let's try to make it a little more. And I just remember, like, all right, let's get it. Like, put the little Colts logo.
Oh,
Because like people look at resumes and they're like, all right. I mean, my dad told me that he would say he would teach these kids at GE engines. If you were in the Marines, put the Marine Corps logo. So he said he'd look at stuff resumes and he'd be like, so it's stupid. But anyway, so I remember getting your resume. I re did it for you, and then
I redid the whole thing.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to take credit for it because it was your resume. But then yeah, then I just remember running with Kim. It's like, hey, you know, you were doing mortgages at Bentley.
Yeah.
And Kurt was the head of the mortgages at PH.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe you guys should talk.
Yeah.
And then, you know, tell me what it was like on your end. I mean, you come back and not to make it seem like it was like, oh, it was me, but you know, you were.
Yeah.
Here's reality.
It's the jobless. Yeah. No, it's the hardest part is you're part of a family and a culture and a team. You have a goal and you have a purpose, and every day, pretty much every hour of your day is structured. Every minute of your day is structured, and then all of a sudden you're gone, and you go from making a tackle in front of 70,000 people and everybody cheering and screaming and flexing to like, dude, just somebody tell me what to do. I
Yeah.
can't do what I'm doing with my life.
Right.
I've got buddies that have transitioned from the military, and it's very kind of similar stuff. Obviously, what I did compared to what the military does,
Yeah.
completely different. I got paid a lot of money to just tackle random dudes.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier than being in the military. But as far as the things that we held true and the things that we were used to, like it was tough to kind of get out of that. I had no idea what I was going to do. Did some training for a little bit, trained some withstand the teams. Loved it, had a good time, some individual training, stuff like that. Whenever it was going when my kids were home when I was going there.
Yeah.
And I'm also terrible at like charging. Like, I'm not going to charge some kid to put him through work. And it just felt like a really good
Yeah.
And did a mortgage when we bought the house for Jared. He came in. He's like, "Hey, if you ever want a job, let me know." Bank. He's like, "If I can do banking, you can do banking." And his name is Bill Robinson. Just a really cool dude. Like, just an awesome guy. I still talk to him pretty much every week. And he got me into software in the bank and did like kind of like a business development, commercial, just trying to learn.
Yeah.
Thing. And then got in with Kurt, did mortgages for a while, thanks to you, and really enjoyed it. Loved it. It was a lot of fun, and just recently switched to business development, community funding, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed that you didn't play golf with us that one. He had like a last minute deal where there was a event. You guys had like two foursomes, and so it's me and he's like, he missed you out, so I missed on that. We had fun. It was fun. So now you go and you're doing this thing, and then I actually had two last things. So this is the last question. I think it's really funny. Tell me about the business you just online with the shirts stuff.
Oh gosh, no. So they had QC Custom Tees had recently, right?
Yeah.
And we went and met with them, just have random stupid shirt ideas. We so trying to do they did she can notice me. So and so then they're like, yeah, dude, just text us whatever, we'll put it together.
Yeah.
It just kind of like it kind of worked out. And, um,
Do you have an NDA, like you can't talk about the why you started it or what the meaning is behind the whole?
with the door thing.
Yeah.
No, I don't. No. Yeah. No, we use the bill for the youth football, and then we got to get district. Let's see.
Yeah. Which is
So we use the
insane.
door. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's funny is like, if people don't know that story,
Yeah.
then they don't know why is it Dorf and why is it bad. I knew right away. I was like, this is the best thing ever.
But now you can. Now you can because we complained enough. Now you can use the stuff.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, so are you
But-
going to add it to your portfolio?
No,
See?
no. But you can. You have to like request it, and they've got to approve it. It's the-
Oh, okay.
but it really should. I mean, it's for like the youth program. It should be for my stuff. Yeah, that was great. That was a really good time.
I think it's funny. Like,
It was so great.
I know I saw all this stuff and I'm like, he's got a point. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand it, but
Yeah.
that's the way things go sometimes. Um, that was my last thing. I really appreciate you coming in and doing this. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. I think the themes were, you know, right. If you're going to be willing to do you're going to get the results. And it's the thing I try to teach my kids. And like, what did you do in the season for soccer? 0.
Yeah.
Don't expect to get in the field.
I had that talk with
You know, you expect to get anything and then be pointing the fingers at the coaches and the teachers when you don't study and you don't.
Yep.
It's your fault. And then I think the real key was there was always, it seemed like somebody that was willing to help you.
Yeah.
Right. I think I talked to this kid last week, this kid that Mark Goff, who won that last man standing race. And we were saying there's no great like achievement in life that's done like you're done. There's always somebody that either helped you or support is even better than like them actually they can't do it for you, but they're there to help support you, right?
Yeah.
We're talking to Austin early on when he decided he was gonna run Leadville, and I was like, look, man, you got support lined up. Meaning if you have any negatives, it's going to deter you and you just need to do it. But you had a great coach or a great mentor and that one player who took you. I mean, that's to me.
I left a lot of them out too.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And then now it's time like pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's like, hey, who can I be that for? There's probably a million kids that look up to you in good. Sometimes like
They should because I'm taller than
right now. Any last words or any kind of advice you want to give anybody?
no man.
No advice.
I don't have any. He's doing this professionally.
Keep trying.